And welcome, everybody.
This is the TDC Today Show Communities. My name is Sue Roscoff. The Disability Channel, or TDC, is out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, showcasing abilities. TDC is committed to providing quality digital media production services, education and employment programs by and for persons with disabilities and veterans. TDC offers digital media production, video production, post-production, social media, and podcast creation, production, and support. TDC offers education and employment programming, which includes digital media courses to persons with disabilities and veterans who are unemployed and underemployed. TDC also offers community partnerships. Through partnerships and sponsorships, community partners and organizations become ability champions by supporting media created by and for people with disabilities and veterans. We are your USA team, and today, as always, we have joining us my co-host, Michael Martin Hummel. Michael is a writer, speaker, and podcaster who works to bridge the gap between disabled and able-bodied people. So glad you're here, Michael. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's good to always be here. It's a fun time. I'm gonna be doing the show for Sue because there's a storm that's going on. So I wanted to start with a question for Claire. What made you first interested in financial literacy?
That's a great question. I call it fate. I used to ride horses professionally, and I used to be a welder. I did that for about 12 years. And then I came to Texas to ride horses, and one of my friends who I had talked to back in Vermont, where I'm from, offered me a position at her firm. And at the time, I had no idea about finances. I didn't know anything. My education basically consisted of credit cards are bad and you need to save money. Well, that's great, but how? Which is what a lot of people are asking. How do you save money when things seem so crazy right now and you have to spend the money as fast as you make it? So I've been doing this for about 4 years now, and the turning point became when I was welding and I realized that it was fun, but I really wasn't helping anybody. I wasn't doing anything to change the world. I wasn't doing anything to make a difference, and financial literacy became my path.
That's actually a big realization because I think, like, when I was thinking about what I was wanted to do, purpose became something that was important to include what I was doing. So, how did you get into welding? I'm just curious because that just sounds like a off the beaten path kind of thing.
It is, yeah. So I got into welding because of my dad, and because I was not a great school kid. Um, I did not like math. I did not like going to school or going to class. And 6 to 8 months of welding school sounded a lot better than 4 years of college. And my dad paid for it, and he said, "Way to go! Trade school's the way to go. You can get a good job. You can make a lot of money." Um, and I did really enjoy it. It was really fun.
Yeah, I get
It
it
was
that.
really cool making stuff.
Yeah, it would be
I made a
fun.
lot of Christmas gifts and art, and I got to weld some buildings together, so that was fun too. But
I'd be afraid of burning fingers off.
I've caught my hair on fire a lot.
For someone who doesn't know a lot about financial literacy and doesn't have any experience, what would you say to them of where do they need to start?
Absolutely good question. I would say it's going to start with your budget. It's going to start with you tracking your numbers, looking at your past month, looking at what you've spent, where it's been spent,
Mhm.
how many times you're going to the grocery store, how many times you're going to Starbucks, how much you're going out to eat, um, figuring out how much is going to gas, figuring out how much is going to utilities, to bills, to rent. And sometimes that's a lot, it's very scary for a lot of people because that's just like looking at that and knowing that you're spending a lot of money when you don't really have that much to spend can be very daunting. Um, but once that's over, I promise you it gets better from there. So focus on your income and what's going out, and then building an emergency fund is probably the number one biggest asset you're ever going to have. And I do suggest putting that in something called a high yield savings account. Because Michael, have you ever looked at your bank account and asked what kind of interest you're getting on your bank account?
Yeah, so it does look very slim sometimes.
It's usually about 1% to 0.1%, somewhere
Yeah,
around those ranges. And so a high yield savings is going to give you more like 4 to 6, somewhere in those ranges. Maybe, some of them have like 3, 3.5, but that's a lot better than 0.1.
yeah, true. Very true. Hmm. So for someone who is like in trouble and doesn't have a lot of money and in debt and wants to build themselves up and, and like has a fear of money and wants to get just above what they're currently at and they don't know what to do and their thought process is put in money to get money, what would you say to that?
Well, obviously, I don't know this individual's situation, and money is very personalized, so
Yeah.
I can't recommend a whole lot. But
Okay.
I can recommend coming to talk to me or someone in our company. We do everything for free, so we want to make sure that everyone has access to this information. Um, the way that works is because we work with over 230 different insurance and financial companies, and we get paid out of their marketing budget, so we can make sure that all of our clients have a free access to this information. Um, what I would say is take a deep breath. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Um, Getting out of debt, we have strategies for that, for ways to put your money where it's going to go strategically. So you pay off the highest interest rate or the lowest sum first, and then
Mhm.
you snowball that down. Um, so absolutely, if anyone has any questions or wants to know anything or just wants a hand held over the budget, please absolutely come talk to me.
Okay. I have one more question and then I will want to ask Doug some questions. What is your big goal as far as finances and what you're doing right now and how you want to help people?
I have a lot. I have a lot of big goals. So my first big goal, I guess, is that I want to open 9 offices across the US. I want this accessible to everybody. And right now we have quite a few agents, but still not enough. Um, my second big goal is that I want to open a program for kids, for students who are, I guess, junior seniors, and those aging out of the foster care system,
Hmm.
and to teach them life skills, to teach them adulting 101, to teach
Yeah.
how to do finances, how to change a tire, how to change your oil, how to open a bank account, how to go on a plane, how to do things at maybe they haven't been taught. Um, and it's not anyone's fault. You can't teach what you don't know. Um, but my third big goal is I want to have um, senior care centers that are more affordable. I want to
Nice.
have enough money to be able to fund um, retirement homes where people can low cost, whatever, they can go and they can live and they can have a better experience in their last years of their life than some of the places out there right now. So
Well, those are good goals. I like that.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. It's good to meet you. Our next guest is Doug Cornfield. Doug is from Disability Dream and Do. I've interviewed Dave Stevens and Dave Clark and with Mr. Cornfield. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. A little late tonight, but that's all right. We're in the late night radio. Almost, we can compete against the late night people.
Yeah. So tell me what's going on with Disability Dream and Do.
So we've been continuing to do our sports camps. For those that aren't familiar with me, I have Dave Clark and Dave Stevens, and if you're watching visually, I've got pictures of Dave Clark pitching from crutches. He's the only professional baseball player to ever play on crutches. And then I've got Dave Stevens, who was born with no legs. Dave is a disability. They're both disability advocates, but Dave was a three-sport athlete in high school and college. He played professional baseball for a short stint. He got to pinch hit for Darryl Strawberry, is one of his great stories. And these two men and I, we run numerous sports camps and been doing this for years, completely free for families, where they get a day to, it's not, Dave Stevens says a day to be normal, but to me, it's just a day to be, and to get on the field and to interact with professional players and college players, get on a professional field, get to meet the Daves. We've done baseball and hockey have been our two primary sports that we've run over the years. We've been a little bit involved in the Super Bowl and Pro Bowls with the Wounded Warrior amputee football team. Actually, the Disability Channel has been a part of that as far as helping us to get on the radio row, and so I've had some really cool experiences with all of that. But our primary bullseye, I always say when I'm doing events, and even I've done some speaking on this, is know what your bullseye is. Like Claire just said, know what your bullseye is. Hey, I want to get out of debt. I want to have a emergency fund. I want to spend less than I make, which is the hardest thing to do, right, Claire? And I'm part of one of that because I give everything away. So it's like sometimes I give too much away, and all of a sudden I got to go find some more money, to help us along the way. But we got to know what our bullseye is, and my bullseye and Dave Clark's bullseye and Dave Stevens is that we want to run more sports camps and events for children and young adults with different disabilities and challenges. And it's not just about sports. It can be music, it can be art. I actually have a music background a little bit and did some singing, throughout my years, and and so it can be acting. We can do a Disability Dream and Do acting camp, and we could do a Disability Dream and Do finance camp. I mean, it's just whatever somebody's wanting to have the ability to learn more, to have that access to. We're kind of the starter program. We're like the spark. To get parents' minds set so that when they think their child or their young adult that they have under care can't succeed, well, we get to tell them differently, and we at least get to show them some stories of, what, they might have to do it differently. They might not be able to speak. They might not have hands. They might not have legs. They might not have all the intellectual capabilities of, quote, a normal person. But we find out what their strengths are, and we want to find out what the strengths are, move toward those strengths, and find out what they can succeed in, and let them do it. Don't hold them back from letting them at least try, because if they try and they get so far, well, maybe they have to pivot, just like almost all of us, and then they get to try something different, and they're learning different things along the way. And hopefully it's toward real success, not hand-me-down success, but real success. Dave Clark, when he pitched in minor league baseball as a professional athlete on crutches, it wasn't given to him. He was on those teams not because he had a disability. He was given those teams because of one thing. He was getting people out, and he was helping them win games. He wasn't given his roster spot. He was there because he could compete. And Dave Stevens, same thing. He was a two-time state champion wrestler. He was a seven-time Emmy Award winner with ESPN. They don't give out the Emmys just because you have a disability. They give out the Emmys because you did quality work. And so we want to encourage that quality work. And let all abilities strive toward that. And our camp is really a starting point where we just do a simple thing. We get 80 to 100, 120 sometimes, children and young adults with all ages, all disabilities out on a field to play baseball and maybe hit a ball for the first time. Maybe run around the bases or crawl around the bases or roll around the bases or whatever their scenarios are. You wouldn't believe how many parents, and it's usually mothers, although I have one instance where it was a father. But well, there's a couple things, but you'll hear when they're out there on our field at our camps, and they're doing all sorts of activities. It's not a lot of standing around at our camps. They're station driven. They're hitting balls. They're hitting off of tees. They're throwing balls. There's target practice. All sorts of things. And a parent will inevitably say, "I didn't know my child could do this." And you wouldn't believe how many times I've heard that at our camps.
I get
I
that.
I didn't know they could do this. And the bottom line is because they never were given a chance. We have this little boy named Christian, and his parents are great parents. It's not that he wasn't going to get a chance. He was really young. He came to our camp, and Dave Stevens is having a catch with him. He was in a walker. He had some real severe physical challenges, and Dave's trying to get him to catch a ball, and he catches the ball for the first time. You would have thought he won the World Series. I mean, he's jumping up and down. His arms are going crazy. It's one of the greatest videos that we have. I mean, here's this little boy catching a ball being thrown to him by a man who has no legs, and he catches this ball and he does it twice, and it's literally both times he catches it as if he won the World Series. That was the moment for him.
That's
And we create those moments, or we put children and young adults with these challenges in a place where these moments can happen, and we're just trying to open up minds, and that's part of what Disability Dream and Do does. And so that's my bullseye, is to do more of these events. And then it's like, well, how do you do it? You give it away for free. It's pretty rough, just like Claire said. But we don't have a huge backing. We find funders, we find sponsors, we've sold product. I have children's books, we have speaking events, and then we try to create the revenue, and that's what I've been pretty good at, although it's really tight right now. If I'm being quite honest, right now it's a tough economy and things are tight, and we need revenue, but we push on, and somehow it always comes. Not as fast as I want sometimes, because checks are always in the mail, but they don't always get there when you want it to. But what we get to do is such a privilege, and we just want to do more of it. And so that's why I'm creating marketing things right now to help us get propelled back to levels beyond where we were before the COVID hit us.
That's awesome. I love that. I don't know if I told you about it. I played wheelchair basketball on and off since 1988.
Nice, nice. I got a buddy that was in Utah that was on the U.S. team, wheelchair
Uh-huh.
basketball, and I got to be a part of his practice when I was there. I'm trying to think when it was. It was probably a year ago. I've been to Utah several times, and was he's just coaching now, but it was real high level. These kids were getting scholarships to go play wheelchair basketball, and I was at one of their practices. It was pretty intense. I put some of those videos on my YouTube channel. So
What are
that was.
you working on other than trying to get funds for the disability you and do?
Well, right now it's focused on funds. It really
Okay.
is connections, doing a lot of networking. I've been down to Hudson Valley, New York. I have a networking group there. I'm a part of another national networking group where I'm a captain. I have calls going to Australia. I have calls going to, I've gotten this group of Lithuanians that I've gotten connected with through my networking group. Australia, California. There's some things going on with Dave Clark. And I don't even want to put it on recording right now because let's just say we're talking to a lot of lawyers. And so there's some things that are happening there. So I'm spending a lot of time with that.
Okay.
And we're just looking to explode, and not implode, but explode. There's some more interest in Dave's movie. We've kind of been up and down the roller coaster with that whole thing. We signed a deal literally 2 weeks before COVID broke out, and then
Wow.
and they kind of squashed that deal for a bit, and now we're back at it. Both of these guys over here should have movies. Dave Stevens is in a movie right now on Netflix, but it's just sharing one of his stories, more of a documentary movie with Mike Veck. It's called Saint of Second Chances, so he's in that movie. Dave Clark, we have full scripts written on him. We're still, banging those out and bringing in some named people for executive producer roles, and so I'm networking, I'm connecting, I'm getting introduced to people, and I'm promoting, which you can see over here on this here. I'm promoting the Dugout movement right now and launching this beautiful movement of Cause Crusaders, and we have the exclusive rights for the dog. To launch the whole dog side of it. There's bears and there's lambs and there's some other animals involved in this Cause Crusader group, but we're the dog, and it's the Dugout Dog. And so they named it after me, kinda. I wasn't too happy about that at first, but now I got to embrace it. And so I have other dogs coming from my days. I got the Dude and I got Dutch, and I got two dogs. We're staying with the D's in the marketing say. So we're D3 Day, Dave, and Doug. I don't know how it happened like that. It was Disability Dream and Do first. And now we have the Doug, and then we got the Dude, and we got the Dutch, and I don't even know where to point over here because it's opposite shoulders for me. But so Dave Clark's got a little dog playing baseball on crutches. It's going to be called the Dude. It's super cute. And then Dave Stevens has a little dog with no legs, and he's on a skateboard because Dave's often shown on a skateboard in his videos and things like that because that's how he has to get around sometimes. And we're calling that dog the Dutch. Can't call them both Daves. Dave 1, Dave 2. They went like that. So we're Dude and Dutch.
So what's the big dream is for your camps? What do you want the big
Big,
dream to be?
yeah, worldwide. Quite
Okay.
frankly, we want these camps worldwide. We're actually talking with teams in Australia right now as well. A big sponsor. We we have some things that are in the works that could literally change us, and get their stories on the map and get children known and social media worldwide, through the Dugout movement and this other thing that I'm not talking about. And so we want to have Disability Dream and Do in the spirit of Dave Clark and Dave Stevens, and my book Pulling Each Other Along. I've got what, 27, 28 people with disabilities that are highlighted in that book. It's like a chicken soup for the soul. So each chapter is different. But we have, Chris Nickick is in that book, and Chris Nickick, I don't know if he's ever been on the Disability Channel, but he was the first man with Down syndrome to ever finish an Ironman, and he's a signed athlete with Adidas, and so Chris and Nick, his father, they're friends of ours, and you've got and on the other side, you got John's Crazy Socks. You got John and Mark Cronin that are in my book, and John, Down syndrome, but wanted to start a business. And his dad asked him, in short, what do you want to do? Well, I like socks. Let's sell socks. So he found out he was really good at selling socks. And guess what? They make a lot of people happy by selling socks, and they employ people in the disability world that are part of their company. And it's stories like that we want to pull pull them along as they're pulling us along, and to highlight those stories through Disability Dream and Do, because we have something that's unique. We have access to get these pro players on a field with children with disabilities and adults with disabilities, and because of the power of Dave and Dave's story, it's given us that access. And we've been minor league baseball promo of the year runner up, and we have gotten some notoriety. If you Google D3 Day, you're going to see us. If you just D3 Day, no spaces, D3 DAY, you're going to see all the activity that we've done throughout the years. And their speaking events, they're very powerful. I mean, if people are wanting to get a paid speaker on stage, call me, because it's Dave and Dave. There's nobody better. And I say that wholeheartedly. I've seen it. Yeah, see, that was I right? Claire, she tested me. She did D3 Day, and there we are. I mean, we're like the first 6 or 7 pages. We're not just it's not just like the first one or two. So first one, you first page. But anyway, so we just want to do more of that, and it's something worldwide. And obviously, Dave and I can't be at every event, but we would highlight other athletes that are in the disability space, and whether it's intellectually or physically or both.
Mhm.
And they would be our highlight athletes at camps all over the country, all over the world, all different sports, all different activities. But there's a secret sauce to the way we do it, and I'm not saying other people couldn't do it, but there's an attitude and a secret sauce that we've learned that I want to pass on. You know, I've got maybe 8 to 10 to 15 years to pass that on, and we want to pass that on in that time frame.
I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that your relationship and your passion for sports, just people with disabilities and each other, are is part of that secret sauce.
It is, but I learned a lot from Dave Clark. Dave Clark wasn't a newcomer to this stuff. He
Mhm.
learned the hard way. One of the camps that he did, one of the first camps that he ever did was in the 70s, and he did it with a group home. And he learned a lot that day because here they're patting themselves on the back. They're thinking this is a great day. They're playing baseball with all these adults from the group home. They're having a blast, and all these young athletes are making the day of these folks from the group home. And then all of a sudden, one of the men, it's a little bit bigger guy, is in a wheelchair, and he says, "I got to go to the bathroom." And they found out the bathrooms weren't big enough to get him in there. You
Been
know,
there.
Yeah. And so here you got all of a sudden they're patting themselves on the back and they're like, we didn't think through everything. So Dave learned along the way since the 70s of how to make these fun. And I'll give you another example. I was in Fort Myers, and I've done this before, but there's one that really sticks out to me. There was a mother, and I typically get the stations going, and then I just kind of walk around, and I'm just like trying to look just to make sure things are flowing and people are having fun. And if I feel like I need to jump in and help somewhere or give some instruction, I do it. Well, I saw this mother while I was walking around, and this is a big field. So I'm walking around, and this is out by the outfield in the Minnesota Twins spring training field. And there's this mother, and she was having an issue with her adult son, who's probably 27, 28, 29 years old, not sure. But he was like being stubborn, and and he had an intellectual challenge, but he was still pretty capable. And I could see some frustration going on between the mother and the son. And I said, "Hey, what's going on here?" And she says, "Well, he just wants to keep hitting at the station. He didn't want to rotate stations with his group." And I just looked at the mother and I said, "Well, then just let him hit. Just let him do that." She goes, "Really?" And I go, "Yeah, just let him stay there. It won't be. If everybody did that, it might be an issue, but that's not the way it works." But for that particular young man, he just loved hitting, and he just wanted to keep hitting at the T-ball station, hitting balls over the fence. And I just said, "Do it." But if we have a little boy that wants to sit in the middle of the field and just roll a ball, that's okay too. And so we just create this situation where they don't feel like they're on pins and needles and they have to do it the exact way. And there's an attitude that comes with that. And I've had some early on. I had some groups that wanted to fund us and say, "Oh, you got to do this, and you got to say how many people are this and how many people are that, and measure how far they hit the ball in the beginning of the camp, and then see how far they hit the ball at the end of the camp, and see how much they improved." And we're like, "No." Because then they're all being measured, and it's just like, no, that's we're not going to do that. Because we want them to all have this experience, and they're all individuals, and they're all different. Everybody's different in the special needs world. There's no cookie cutter. And to get out 80 to 120 people with all a bunch of different disabilities, and then you get a bunch of pro athletes that have never done anything like this before, and you melt it together, it takes some experience and a special um, methodology, mindset. And Dave Clark had that before I ever met him. I just got to massage it a little bit. And because he never did group, before me, we know, he was doing camps of maybe 20, 25, 30 people at tops. And then all of a sudden we started having, like this year, my Hudson Valley event, um, we had 120 people sign up before I sent out the press release. And so we
Oh,
were,
wow.
we were overfilled before anybody was supposed to know about it.
Wow.
And we don't want to have too many people on the field because then it takes away some of that one-on-one, special time. But that particular event's become so popular, I can't even advertise for it.
Well,
Might have to have a lottery for it someday.
Um, did you have a website you wanted to
Yeah, they can go
promote?
to D3 Day. It's not updated right now because the new schedule won't be out until the schedules come out for the minor league baseball. I mean, typically we're in Florida in the spring, and then we're in Rochester. I just got the down payment for the Rochester one, or that's the check that's in the mail for the Rochester event, and then we're working with the Binghamton Mets again this year is the plan. We're trying to work with the Reading Phillies as a new event. The Jersey Shore Phillies, we worked with last year. We're hoping to do that at camp next year. Hudson Valley Renegades, that's the Yankees organization. We've been invited to Rickwood Field, the famous Negro League stadium where Hank Aaron and all the greats played. Satchel Paige and Willie Mays played in Rickwood Field, and so we've been invited there. So it's just right now I'm not going to be able to go anywhere if we don't raise money. So we say what I'm doing right now as well. I'm trying to raise money.
Claire, is there anything that you wanted to promote?
No, I have a question for Doug though.
Yeah, what's up,
Do you
Claire?
just work with baseball or do you ever do other sports?
Yeah,
Or
no.
is it just
So to
baseball?
make Dave Clark's story even more unbelievable, Claire, he actually played ice hockey in college, even though he couldn't skate.
Nice.
So we've done hockey and baseball are our two primaries, and then we've done a little bit with football. We were planning to do a little bit more with football, and then COVID kind of took us backwards because Dave Stevens played football in high school and college, and so and then I have a son who coaches at the highest level of track and field. He's been an Olympic coach as well as he's one of the top track coaches literally in the country. Um, and I have a track background. My father was a world class runner. I was a full scholarship athlete at the University of Georgia, all that kind of stuff. And now with my son's contacts, I'm hoping that we do a track camp too. So there's really no limit to the events that we can call disability dream and do. It can be disability dream and do acting, disability dream and do baseball, hockey. Um, Sewing. I don't care what it is. We just want to give children and young adults with the ability to experience. Actually, I have a whole acting camp in my brain because I was approached by a pro actor to do an acting
Okay.
camp, and it would be in a similar style, to what we do, but different, of course. Could be opera. I don't care. Let's do opera or singing and music, and do disability dream and do jam session, and so there's no limit to that. But our niche, because Dave Clark played ice hockey and he played baseball, and that's where our connections were. That's been our niche where we grew.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Good to know. Well,
But it can be
it
anything.
has, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Wow. Got my wheels spinning,
Yeah,
so
yeah. And Florida is one of
we'll have
our
to connect
spots
after.
because Dave Clark lives in Florida, and so we
Okay.
want to grow in Florida. And yeah, it's just unfortunately it's gotten very hard and difficult on the fundraising side. And so if I'm just being real blunt and honest for this, we used to have a revenue flow. COVID really put the brakes on that pretty badly for us, and so that's why we're starting the dugout movement. And
I have full faith
you
in
know,
it.
now if we get a big movie deal and we make $50 million, then that'll change things too. But
Could happen.
it can
Love
happen
that.
with Dave's story. It can happen with both Dave's stories. It could happen.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank both Doug Comfort and Claire Wetmore. My name is Michael Hummel. I'm from the Disability Channel, and this is the Disability Channel, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.